Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating spiritual blueprint from an ancient text. It basically lays out a step-by-step path showing how anyone could journey from being, just an ordinary person to becoming a fully awakened Buddha. Okay, so let's get right into it. This journey isn't some single giant leap. It's a gradual climb, laid out in 10 really distinct stages, or grounds of realization. And the person who actually commits to walking this path, not just for themselves, but for everyone, is known as a bodhisattva. So, what would even drive a person to start a journey like this? Well, the motivation is actually beautifully simple. It's not about escaping the world or finding some personal peace. It's the exact opposite. It's about a deep engagement with it. Suffering is just harm to others. And happiness, it's benefiting others. That's it. This becomes the core compass for the entire path. Now, before you can start climbing this stairway, you've got to have a solid foundation, right? The text calls this establishing 4 dwellings, which are basically the fundamental states of mind you need to support the whole journey ahead. And you can see how these pillars just build on each other so perfectly. It all kicks off with this deep, unshakable joy in the path itself. And when you have that joy, it naturally inspires you to live ethically. Then that ethical foundation gives you the stability for a really focused, concentrated mind. And it's from that clarity and only then that profound wisdom can really start to shine through. And check this out. These aren't just, nice abstract virtues. They have incredibly powerful, practical results. They lock in your commitment. They ensure you're always growing your inner resources, and they create this kind of spiritual immunity so you can help people without getting dragged down. And ultimately, they just speed up the whole process. All right, let's move on to the first actual steps of the stairway. We're going to cover the first 3 grounds, and this is where the journey really starts to transform a person from the inside out. So this table kind of gives us a quick map of that initial climb. First, on the first ground, you experience this overwhelming, totally unprecedented joy. This joy then naturally purifies your mind, which leads you to the second ground, the stainless, where living ethically just becomes second nature. And that purity allows the mind to just radiate with deep focus on the third ground, the luminous. And this quote gives you a real feel for what that first ground is like. This isn't just regular happiness we're talking about. It's a state of fearless, profound joy that comes from seeing reality directly, seeing the Dharma, the truth of how things are, for the very first time. All the normal anxieties and fears that bug us, they just fall away. Okay, moving up. Now the focus starts to shift. The foundational qualities are stable, so the work turns to actively cultivating a really powerful, penetrating wisdom that just cuts right through illusion. In these middle stages, wisdom becomes like a powerful flame that just burns away ignorance. This makes the mind incredibly resilient, hard to conquer on that 5th ground. Then, by the 6th ground, that wisdom is so strong that reality itself becomes manifest. You see it directly, face to face, with zero distortion. So, the crucial point here, the real game changer, is the shift from just thinking about this stuff to directly perceiving it. It's one thing to hear that everything is connected. It's something else entirely to actually see it, moment to moment, woven into the very fabric of reality. That is the mastery of the 6th ground. So now we're reaching the highest grounds. This is where the practice becomes so perfect that it's totally spontaneous and effortless. It just flows naturally from a fully realized mind, without any sense of trying or striving. From this point, the Bodhisattva's compassionate influence becomes truly far-reaching. On the 8th ground, their realization is so stable, it's called the immovable. By the 9th, their wisdom is perfected into good intelligence, meaning they can teach anyone perfectly. And finally, they become a cloud of Dharma, just raining down wisdom to nourish all beings everywhere. And this concept of Anubodha, on the 8th ground, wow, it's a major turning point. Think about how much effort we put into being good or doing the right thing. Here, all of that just stops. Perfect, compassionate action flows naturally, like a river finding its way to the sea, without any conscious thought or planning. It is literally the end of striving. So finally, we've arrived at the summit of the path, full Buddhahood. But you might be wondering, how is this state really different from other highly realized beings, like an arhat, who has also reached a kind of enlightenment? Well, the source draws a really stark contrast. For an arhat, deep concentration is like a state they enter and exit, kind of like walking into a room. But for a Buddha, it's not a state anymore, it's their very nature. Their mind is constantly, effortlessly in perfect meditative balance no matter what they're doing, speaking, walking, anything. And this perfection goes way beyond just concentration. It's a state where even the most subtle human flaws are just gone, forever. Imagine that. No unintentional mistakes, ever. No lapses in memory. No subtle preference for your own peace over helping others. Every single action is infused with wisdom, and these incredible qualities can never, ever fade. So what you should really take away from all this is that the entire journey is a systematic process. It's all about clearing away two types of veils, the emotional ones that cause us to suffer, and the cognitive ones that distort how we see reality. As these get cleared away, stage by stage, the mind's naturally perfect, luminous nature is simply revealed. Ultimately, this text isn't just describing some historical figure or a distant, impossible goal. It's presenting a detailed blueprint for the highest potential of any conscious being. And it leaves us with a really profound and inspiring question about the limits or the potential limitlessness of our own development.